When it comes to .22 rifles, there are none more recommended than the Ruger 1022. It's accurate, reliable, and if you don't like anything about the gun, there's a huge aftermarket with triggers, barrels, and so on. But there are a lot of other good .22s right out of the box. The Marlin 795 being one of them. Bolt hold open, a heavy barrel from the factory, and micro groove rifling that allegedly makes the gun more accurate than something like a 1022. So today we're going to test it out. Is the Marlin 795 a better gun than the Ruger 1022 out of the box? I do apologize about the sun. We're going to start off with a few different loads here, from the one that I expect to perform the worst to the best. So this is Winchester Super X Super Speed Hollow Point. It's a 37 grain bullet at 1330 FPS. We've got the Remington Thunderbolt, American Eagle. This is actually, from what I can tell, very similar to the bulk Federal Auto Match that you can get typically in Walmart or other big box stores. So that should be a good test as far as that goes. This is typical Federal bulk, which I've found to perform extremely reliably. And of course, the Everyman's gold standard CCI Mini Mags. Alright, let's see how they do. Alright guys, so we're going to try and see if this gun can do better than the 1022, at least out of the box. There's no real modifications to it. The only thing that might limit us today is my scope. It's actually a Tasco 3-7x20. You can typically get these in Walmart for about $10-15, and they're pretty good. These budget scopes aren't bad as long as you keep your expectations realistic. But I don't have the best view of the target, so I'm doing the best that I can with what I have. And also, the crown of this gun is not in the best of shape, so all that means is when the bullet leaves the barrel, gases can escape unevenly if the crown is damaged, and it can really open up your group. So this whole test might actually be pointless, but we're going to see what we can do. I have a target cam down there, and you guys will see that in the corner of the video. So we're actually starting off with the Winchester Super X. Alright, let's see how we can do. Hopefully it goes well. So I'm actually going for the top left. Okay, so I can actually see that it's not very good, but I didn't expect them to be. A lot of people complain about this load online. So I just wanted it as a baseline to see what was going to happen. So I wouldn't take that group too seriously. Alright, so next up we're doing Remington Thunderbolt, and that'll be at the top right. Okay, so that actually looked like it did a little bit better. Alright, American Eagle, lead round nose, that'll be in the center. Looks like it did a lot better than the others. Alright, Federal bulk. And this is the standard Federal bulk that we're shooting right now. Bottom left. Stovepipe. It's actually pretty funny that it malfunctioned with Federal bulk, because I've shot 500 rounds in a row with no malfunction, so it's pretty unusual, actually. Yeah, so that did look like it did better than the first two, so Super X and Thunderbolt didn't seem to do so good. We're going to do Mini Mag 40 grain round nose now. Bottom right, and that'll be the last load we'll be shooting. Alright, see how it does. I actually expect this to do the best out of all of them, but we might be surprised. Okay, it's a little hard to tell from here, but it looks like that one actually did pretty good, so we're going to walk up on the targets now and see how we did. Alright guys, so we're walking up on the target now. The Mini-Mag group looked pretty good, so I don't know, hopefully we'll be surprised. Do have a quarter on me to measure the groups. It's about 1 inch across. Alright guys, so we're at the target. Okay, the first two groups didn't do very well. That was the Super X. This was Thunderbolt, okay? I'll call that about 3 inches, and this I'll say maybe I'll be optimistic 2.5 inches, so not very good at all. Well, now it starts to get more interesting. This was American Eagle 40 grain round nose, so pretty comparable to Federal Auto Match, if you guys have seen that. We've got 3 shots in 1 ragged hole, and then I don't want to make an excuse, but those could be 2 flyers. These are interesting though. You know what? If we average it out, I'll call it about 1.5 inches. Here's where it gets interesting though. This is Federal bulk, okay? If we get rid of that 1 flyer, we are well under 1 inch. In fact, actually about 1/2 inch. So that's really good. This is 50 yards. And again, I don't want to make an excuse, but I'll just get rid of that flyer just for the sake of showing what the gun can do potentially. This is CCI Mini Mag, which I did rush a little bit at the end, I will admit. I definitely pulled that shot. That could have just been not a great one. Again, I'm going to call that about 1 inch. Just about touching across the quarter. So, I think this is actually the best representation of what this gun can do. Definitely well under 1 inch at 50 yards, no matter what, as long as you have a good scope, a good rest, and you can stay steady. None of which I was able to do today. So I think considering the equipment I was using and how I was and what I was resting on, I'm going to call that 1/2 inch group right here really good, and I'm going to call that a representation of what the gun can do. Not to mention I have a damaged crown. I might roll in a picture of that. But I'm pretty impressed, and again, I don't want to make excuses for this gun. But this is what you can do under ideal circumstances, or better. Alright guys, so how did this gun do today? I want to say pretty well. Definitely not the ideal circumstances. The scope isn't that great. I couldn't really see the target as well as I would have liked to. Again, damaged muzzle crown, but I don't really think that affected the test today. I think it was more me, and I didn't have a great rest today. What I can say is that I was impressed with the performance today, especially with Federal bulk. I didn't think it would do that good. And this isn't really a great test of reliability, but you did see 1 stoppage with Federal bulk, which was really an anomaly, because I've went 500 rounds without a single stoppage with Federal bulk. Whatever can go wrong will, or whatever. I'm just going to chalk that up to bad luck with that round at that particular time. But I also want you guys to consider that this gun can be had for well under $200, and you can get it with a scope as well for around the same price. Ruger 1022 is going to cost you well over $200. typically. So what does that really mean in the real world? Well, you get a gun that has last shot hold open, as you can see. That was the last shot that I fired, and bolt locks back. You get a gun that comes with basically a heavy barrel out of the factory. It's not quite a top of the line heavy barrel you can get for a 10-22, but it is going to probably lead to better performance than a typical Ruger 10-22 barrel. Again, under ideal circumstances, these guns are typically more accurate than we can ever be. And micro groove rifling, so it's 16 grooves instead of I believe 8 or 6, depending on. I know there's 5R rifling, that's a 5-groove rifling. But what I know about micro groove rifling is that it's 16 gentler grooves, instead of a lesser amount of more harsh ones. And the idea is it deforms the bullet less, and it can even outperform its bullet weight class. For example, a Ruger 10-22 can't stabilize something like an Aguila Sniper Subsonic. It's a 60 grain bullet on a 22 short case. This actually can stabilize bullets like that. So there are other things to consider with micro groove rifling besides just potentially being more accurate. So how do you know if this gun is right for you? I think if you're looking for a gun that you can get out of the box that performs great without any modifications, I think the Marlin 795 is going to be a great buy. If you're somebody who likes to tinker with your guns and make it the best it can be, do all kinds of modifications in the aftermarket, you would be stupid to go with something other than the Ruger 10-22. Just because of the massive aftermarket, you can make it anything you want. You can make it look like an M1 carbine. You can get nice laminate stocks for it. There's just so much you can do to a Ruger 10-22. And if that's your cup of tea, I would go with the 10-22 if you want to modify your gun. But if you want a great gun right out of the box, I think the 795 is a great option, especially since it's a lot cheaper than the 10-22, and potentially may perform better. Every report that I've read on the forums, as far as people having a 795 and a 10-22, said that their 795 was actually a little bit more accurate than their 10-22 and also a little bit more reliable. So there's a lot to consider. But I think overall the 795 is a great gun, and if you are in the market for a 22 that just performs great out of the box, I think the 795 is going to be a great option. Alright guys, so this is actually after I made the main video. I was really able to calm down and shot a couple hundred rounds, and I really tried to lock down my groups and all of that good stuff. So what we're looking at is this target here, and this is Winchester bulk. Okay, got my quarter, and let's just find our best group here. So we'll call that a flyer, and that's about, that's about a 10-shot group, and most of them are in similar holes. So I know that the variation is probably due to me, and that's why I say that. So I'll call that about an inch. Again, this is with bulk ammo. We'll call those two flyers just a little bit over an inch. Okay. That's not so good. We'll call that 2 inches. And that was just a 5-shot group. Yep, that's not so good. And if we take out the flyers, I think that was about a 9-shot group, because I did have a few malfunctions with this ammo. The Winchester bulk, not the Super X I shot before, but a different load. The Winchester white box bulk. We'll call this about an 1.5 inches. I didn't expect this to do well. I was getting malfunctions with it. But again, you can see with our better groups, still pretty impressive. Not too bad at all. I was more impressed by the Federal bulk before, but I mean, this still wasn't bad, and I didn't expect this to perform as well anyway. So I think that the takeaway is that the gun's pretty damn accurate, and it's pretty reliable as long as you feed it the right stuff and you find out what it's reliable with. That's pretty much any 22. There are a few modifications to this gun that we could potentially try out, and I may do that. There's the DI Products trigger, which I believe reduces the trigger a couple pounds. I believe it's spec'd at 7 pounds right now. There's also the tech sights. Again, I was using a scope, but I've seen people actually get groups similar to this using tech sights. They're an aperture sight, so that's extremely cool. And there's a couple other things like bolt handles and stuff, and but as far as really improving accuracy, I'd probably eventually try the DI Products trigger just to see how much better I can do, because the trigger does break pretty clean. It's a little heavier than I'd like it to be, and I do notice the most movement when I'm pulling that trigger, because even though it breaks clean, it's still fairly heavy. So I think the DI Products trigger could potentially improve this gun a lot. For me, I'd rather shoot with probably a scope than standard aperture sights. At this distance, this is 50 yards. So I think the first one that I would want to try is the DI Products trigger. So you may see a review on the DI Products trigger. So anyway, I'm sorry to roll this in right at the end, but I did do some more shooting, and I wanted to try to represent the gun a little bit more with a different load, just to kind of see how it did. Definitely, on average, this was better than the first set of groups. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching my video today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, make sure to hit that like button. If you disliked it, definitely do dislike and shoot me a comment telling me what I could have done better. And if you really like the video and want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button, because I'm going to try and do a new video every week, at least for the time being until I get back to school. I want to use my free time to educate and entertain, and yeah, pretty much just entertain you guys. So again, thanks for watching, and have a great day. See ya.